Welcome everybody. It's the 1st of March 2021. My name is Markus Vähälä, hailing from Citizen Network and from Kukunori from Finland. I'm very glad that you are all here today to meet Fionn and Jonathan Angus from Ireland. We will begin soon, and this session will be recorded and broadcasted later to the Citizen Network TV, CNTV. So go to YouTube and subscribe today and see all the wonderful broadcasts that we have there available. Welcome everybody, and welcome Mark, our host today. So how are you? And would you like to welcome everybody to the Action Monday?
Okay, and can you give me a wee hand, please? Hello.
Hello.
What's your name? I need to start with the girl in the red. What's her name?
My name is Poppy.
No, the one at the top.
I'm sorry, were you talking to me?
Yeah. Yeah.
I have another audio in my room. I
Hello.
can't hear too good. Hello.
Hello. Nice to see you.
Hello.
And what's the guy in this side? What's your name?
Athena.
Yeah,
Hello.
Athena. Oh,
Hello, Layla.
Hello.
Hello, Layla.
Hello. Hello, Athena.
Layla, how are you?
Hello. Hello, Mark. My name's
Yeah. And the one. Jonathan. Jonathan.
Do you want me to carry on or
Hello.
stop?
Nice to see everyone. This is Jonathan and Fionn.
Yes.
And you'll
Hello.
hear lots about us and where we're from and such.
Yeah.
So I just want to say, Mark, that the order that all the little pictures of people are on your screen is not the same as everyone else's. So if you say go to the left next, it may be a different left for each person.
Yeah,
So
right.
you might have to describe what we look like.
I can help you, Mark.
Yeah. Confusion here.
We can do it together.
Hello, Steve Perry.
So Steve, how are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. Hello. Hi, Athena. It's good to see you here.
Good to see you.
Steve Perry. Steve.
Hi. Yeah, hiya.
Well, I'm going to have to join the other session of BMX.
That'll be soon. I'll speak to you later about that, Athena.
All right.
Yeah. But hello, everyone. It's good to see you all. I'm really, really happy to be here yet again. All's well here. The sun's still shining.
Welcome, Steve. Hi, Keith. How are you doing?
Hi everyone. So
Hello.
this is Keith here from sunny Glasgow today. Lovely sunny Glasgow on the 1st of March 2021. Yeah, so it's a nice day, lovely day. Looking forward to tonight's meeting.
Welcome, and welcome, Simon.
Simon.
Hello, I'm Simon from Sheffield, also from Citizen Network, and it's lovely to be here.
Yeah.
How are you doing, Kevin? Welcome.
Kevin.
Hello all, happy first day of March. I got my Notre Dame hoodie. Look at the Irish. It's not so sunny here, so lucky y'all with the warm sunny weather, but I am still happy nonetheless to be here.
Exactly. And if we open it, actually, we can see that we have the book.
Welcome, Chantal.
Chantal.
Great to see you here.
Yeah, good to see you. Oh, she's muted.
And welcome, Louis.
Yes.
And welcome, Peter.
Very much. I'm here as an assembly.
We
And
lost you.
welcome, Michael from Los Angeles.
No.
Hello, hello. Michael is saying hello. He's on the other computer.
Doing the sharing.
Yeah.
He's doing the sharing, and good to see you. I'm Mary from Los Angeles with the Strindberg Laboratory, and it's very sunny here.
Welcome, Mary, and welcome, Cesare. Nice to see you here.
Yeah.
So check out Citizen Assembly. Probably Cesare can put the link to the chat as well. There are a lot of interesting people here, so let's move forward. Welcoming Michael from Glasgow. Welcome.
Welcome, Michael.
Hi, Marcus. Hi, everyone. Michael from sunny Scotland, without the sun.
Welcome, Neasley from Los Angeles.
Hello, hello, hello.
Hello.
It's good to see everyone. I'm excited to be here. I can't wait for the show to start.
And welcome, Poppy.
Poppy.
Hello, Marcus. Hi, I'm glad I'm here today because it's about Down syndrome, which I have got in difficulty.
Welcome, Poppy.
Thank you.
And now to the stars of the show, Fionn and Jonathan.
Okay, hello everyone.
Yeah, hello. Well, a big thank you to No Labels, No Walls for having us.
Yes, and if we can bring up the slideshow, everything will be good.
Yeah.
I don't know where I put it though. I'm gonna have to give us a moment to find it again. Okay, well, where is the, oh, you see it there? There we go. Okay. Everyone see the picture now?
Yes, we can see it. Thank you.
Great.
Great. So, my name is Fionn, and this is my dad.
And my name is Jonathan, and together we are
Fionnathan.
And well, the name of this talk we have for you today is We Can Do Better.
Yes.
Exploring Down Syndrome Leadership. And how is it going to be, how is this hour going to be structured, Fionn?
By 3 parts.
Right. So, so the first part is going to be us telling you about Fionnathan.
Yeah.
And then the second part is presenting this idea for research that we have. And then the third part, we'll stop sharing the images and we'll have a conversation, and everyone who wants to speak can do so.
Yeah.
So what is this, Fionn?
Well, so to the American ears, Fionnathan sounds like Fionnathan.
Yeah, I have a pair of American ears here, so
Yeah.
I can attest to that. Well, it's close enough anyway.
Yes.
A lot of people think that your name is pronounced Fionn.
Yeah,
so
that's right.
We come up with Fionnathan or something,
Right.
but it's Fionnathan.
Yeah.
Quite a bit like Fionnathan. And what about, let's have a little Irish language lesson.
Okay. Well, so the Irish word for discovery is Fionnathan.
And did we know that there was such a close parallel to the word that we created, Fionnathan, to an Irish word?
Well, previously, we didn't know that.
We didn't know it at all. It was after we decided to combine our two names that, although you speak more Irish than I do, neither one of us are fluent.
Yeah,
but,
that's true.
Someone who is quite fluent and has quite a large vocabulary said, oh, Fionnathan, that means discovery. And we thought, what a perfect name for our project.
Yeah.
And we are a company and we're a social enterprise.
Yes, we are.
And we established, we established a company because when you were finishing what's here called secondary school, and I think in England and Scotland, it's probably called secondary school, but in America, it's called
high school.
High school. So when you were about 18 and we were looking at where you might go and what you might do next, we were told by the the representative from the health department of the government that you could sign up for a day service. And we looked into those and you didn't like them.
Exactly.
We just
I didn't
figure they would be ambitious enough. So we asked to have funding that otherwise would go to one of these charities.
Yeah.
And well, they said no, and then we asked again, and they said no.
Right.
We kept coming back and asking until they said yes. And so you became the first person in Ireland with an intellectual challenge to manage your own support funding.
That's right, yeah.
And they said to do this, we'd have to set up a company. And we had the option of setting up the company as a charity.
Right.
And did we like that idea?
No.
Because why?
Because we found that charity is an old-fashioned, fuzzy notion.
Kind of a fusty notion.
Yeah.
Sort of, a kind of a last century way of thinking of things.
Yes.
Right? We didn't want to get caught in that trap. We'd avoided one trap of not signing up for the day services as they were as they were offered. And then we avoided this other trap of saying, oh, well, we're a charitable organization. Because charities, let's face it, it's like there's us and them. There's the people who have and they provide to the people who need. And we just don't like that dynamic.
Right. No.
We reject it entirely. And we heard this idea of a social enterprise. And we like that a lot more.
Yes.
Yeah. So so we started a social enterprise. And why don't you go to the next slide, Fionn, and you can say what our project is all about.
Yes. So the first goal is we work to figure out and achieve my great life.
That's it. That's really why our social enterprise exists fundamentally.
Yes. Then the second one is we share our story and encourage others.
Which makes it a lot funner, doesn't it?
It does.
It would be kind of weird if we were just doing it for you, right?
Yes.
And for me. So we're kind of trying things out and seeing what works well, and then sharing the maps we create, so to speak, as we go along.
Yes, and the third one, number 3, is ultimately we want a better world.
Yeah, so we have grand ambitions. We really want to change the world, right? So, so what do we do? Well, a lot of things, don't we? So here's kind of the main ones that we spend a lot of our time with.
Yes.
So what are they there? There's pictures representing each of these things.
Yes, so we do stand-up comedy.
And in fact, we met some of you on the call when we had our big debut in Edinburgh.
That's right.
Well, the week before we were in Glasgow, but then we were at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival for a week. That was in 2019.
Yes.
And what else Do we do?
We also do filmmaking.
Yeah, we make our own films quite a
Yeah.
bit, but we also work with a lot of other groups of people.
Yeah.
We do collaborations and such. Yeah, and then
Yeah, and then we also do visual art and music.
yeah, we do a lot of that. We're very passionate about this, aren't we?
Yes.
And the last one we have up there.
And we also do nature education.
Yeah. So Fionn is a heritage expert for the Heritage Council
of Ireland.
in Ireland,
Yeah.
and you are paid to go around to schools. You've taught well over 1,000 children now in
Yes.
these 6 or so years since
Yeah.
you've been doing that. So we couldn't resist but to show you a few examples of our artwork.
Yeah.
You want to say anything about that collection there?
Yeah, well, so I love the world of mythology and the god monsters kind of thing, and I enjoy. Well, I enjoy finding invisible monsters in society.
Right, because monsters, it's sort of a fictional idea, isn't it?
Yeah.
But they represent our world as well. And some people are considered monstrous by
Yeah.
other people, right? And
Yeah.
this term disability, it's often associated with people who are considered like monsters by society,
Yeah.
aren't they? And like the fictional monsters, they're
Mm.
often the best people to know, right?
Yes,
They've-
that's true.
They have
Yeah.
something really essential to teach the rest of us.
Yeah.
And so often the story of the monster, it is of that nature,
Yeah.
isn't it? So,
Yes.
so we really like monsters.
Oh, we
don't
do. Yes.
Okay, so the one other thing that takes up a lot of time of our time that we didn't mention specifically is we do research.
Yes.
Quite a bit.
Yeah.
And some of our the most important lessons that we've learned as researchers
Yeah.
were through this organization.
Yes, so they're the IRN, Inclusive Research Network of Ireland.
We've been with them for about 5 years or so.
Yeah.
And there's about 30 or 40 people with lived experience of intellectual disability.
Yeah.
And then there's supporters, and then there's like professional academics,
Yeah.
right? Our connection to a couple of different universities in Ireland. And the group chooses different subjects. We just recently did an online course about research and disability. And they were saying it used to be that research was just done on people with disability.
Right.
And then nowadays, mostly research is done with people with disability, but there's many levels, right? And just consultation is what you often find.
Yeah.
And of course, asking the questions, but very rarely are people with disability involved at every stage of the research process.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
And so it's, for instance, it's very rare for the people with disability to come together before there's a project created and to say, what is it that we think should be researched?
Yeah.
Or at the end of it, the signing your name to the to the article or to the book, and going at a conference and standing up and saying, this was my research. These are the pieces that are kind of withheld from people with disability.
Yes.
Still today, far too much.
Yeah.
But here's a glowing example of a group that are researching right from the get-go and right through to the end.
Yes.
But professionally, right?
Yeah.
So the research does go into academic journals, peer-reviewed journals, that kind of thing.
Yes.
And is the IRN of Ireland the world's only inclusive research network?
Oh no, there is even the IRNA, which is Inclusive Research Network of Australia.
Yes, and we visited there in Sydney at the University of Sydney.
Yes.
and we did a kind of a learning exchange. But there are quite a few of them. Some of you might know of some inclusive research groups, and that's something we'd love to hear from you about. Now, we haven't only done research with the IRN. We've done, well, we have our own project that's a big ongoing research project.
Yes.
It started about 7 years ago.
Yeah.
And you came up with the core question.
Yeah.
And then I realized that that would be a really good question to ask people who are successful in the areas that you might want to journey into.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So you've interviewed people who are professional musicians,
Oh, yes.
filmmakers, both people in front and behind the camera,
yes.
actors and
Yeah.
directors, even politicians, poets, all kinds of
Yeah.
people. How many interviews have you done now on this project?
Yes, over 600 of these filmed interviews.
They're all filmed and they're all on YouTube. And we should make some links so that the Citizen Network TV and our project are closer linked. But go ahead and click to the next screen and we'll say the question, the core question that you've asked all 600 people is,
what do you love about your life?
And we can't show, well, 600 pictures, but you can see there's a few pictures there. And why don't you just go through them across the top from left to right? Who are those people that you're interviewing?
I've interviewed Temple Grandin, Donald Gleason, Mary Robinson, Marissa Tomei.
Somebody's belly.
Yeah, with Tim Shriver.
Tim Shriver. He's the nephew of John F. Kennedy.
Yes, and a rap artist, Coolio.
Yeah, and just to go back, probably most of you know Temple Grandin. She's a very famous advocate, primarily for people with autism. And the guy in the middle is a well-known Irish actor who's been in a ton of things, Donald Gleason.
Yeah.
And then to the right is the former High Commissioner for Human Rights and former President of Ireland, Mary Robinson. And she's written a book called
Climate Justice.
Climate Justice, which is an area we're really interested in.
Yeah.
And then actress Marissa Tomei.
Yeah.
And Tim Shriver is the head of Special Olympics, and then Coolio is what's his most famous song?
Gangster's Paradise.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, so that's a research project that's ongoing and it's a lot of fun. And Fionn is something of a happiness expert as a result of having asked so many people what they love about their lives.
Yeah.
And you've actually even presented on that theme at an international conference called the Global
Happiness Conference.
The Global Happiness Conference. And it was secondary students from about 8 different countries all came together in England about a year and a half ago. And you were the keynote speaker because you know about happiness.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, I do.
So then also we feel like research only matters if it really affects people's lives and if it helps people's lives. So we did another project with the help of our Community Resource Center for Galway 2020, though this was all before the
COVID pandemic.
The pandemic began. But we got funding from a European City of Culture to create these cultural cafes. We recognized that in our neighborhood, we live in the richest neighborhood in Ireland.
Yeah.
And I'm measuring wealth by the number of by the variety of backgrounds in our neighborhood. 48% of the people who live in our part of Galway were born in another country, some other place. And so there's no other neighborhood in the country that has as many immigrants as Duishka does.
Yes.
But after living there in your own apartment for about 3 years, what did we realize?
That we didn't actually know our neighbors.
We didn't know them. We you know, walk by and give a quick hello as you walk by on the on the way to the shop or bus station or something. But really, I mean, it's probably true in many of your neighborhoods. We just didn't have an opportunity to meet our neighbors, so we made the opportunity.
Yes.
And we invited people in to talk to us about their cities of origin, and a lot of people agreed to come. So each evening we would have 3 different countries represented.
Yeah.
And through costume and stories and music and whatever else they wanted to bring.
Yeah.
Although there was one rule, what did each group bring?
Food.
Yeah, so we would have presentations from the 3 groups, and then we would have a big feast of food from those 3 places. And what was really wonderful about it was not just that we reached our goal of meeting our neighbors, but more importantly, what?
That our neighbors got to meet their neighbors as well.
Yeah, the people from Nigeria are happy to come out and tell you about Nigeria, but they're not very likely, frankly, to come out and hear a group from Pakistan telling about their background. But if they're all on the agenda in the same evening, sure, they'll stick around and listen. And it was so interesting for these people from that example, Nigeria, Pakistan, to realize, oh, you never tried cheese before you moved to Ireland? Neither did we. That's not part of our culture at all. Wasn't it strange? Yeah, I love pizza now, and so there were lots of things like that, little discoveries that our community found, and we just had a great time with that. And it really taught us that we can make a difference in small ways. Yeah. So going on to the end of our introduction to ourselves, we travel a lot.
Yes.
Or at least we did before there was a global pandemic.
That's right.
And so it was a natural fit for us to take up the offer to become Citizen Network ambassadors.
Yes.
Because we love to work with communities near and far.
Yes, we do.
Yeah. Okay, so moving on now. I think that's the end of us. Now you've met us. Now we're going to share with you this idea for a project that we've cooked up.
Yes.
And it's called?
It's called the Down Syndrome Leadership Project.
Or really we should say at the moment it's called that. We need a new name for it. But first we'll tell you what we see the problem is, and then what we figure maybe the solution is.
Yes.
So there's the problem. Do you want to read it out, Fionn?
Yeah. Leadership culture the world over mostly excludes people with Down syndrome in meaningful ways.
Yes. And the reason we put that little note is that there are plenty of people with Down syndrome that are told they're leaders or that they're in some kind of a leadership group. You, in fact, spent 3 years on an organization, a national organization called what?
Called the National Advisory Council for Down Syndrome Ireland.
And you have some great stories of good things that happened during your years in the National Advisory Council. One of the main ones is that you learned to travel to Dublin and back independently.
That's right. Yeah.
But what's the problem with that name?
So we're called the National Advisory Council. The problem with that name is that we're also supposed to be advisors for the board of directors for Down Syndrome Ireland.
That's what it suggests, that you, a group of adults with Down syndrome, would be asked to advise the leadership of the Down Syndrome Ireland.
Yeah.
And how often did you advise them?
I think not at all.
No, never over the 3 years.
Yeah, never really.
Was your organization, your committee asked to do any advising of anybody?
Yeah.
Right? So that was kind of pathetic. And I think that's not that unusual, that most of the leadership projects that are done inclusive of people with Down syndrome are sort of play acting. You could say they're practice, you know, to put a positive spin on them, but practice for what? When do people actually lead something meaningful?
Yeah.
So anyway, what's the second part of the problem that we've identified?
Yeah.
We're talking about this leadership culture lacking people.
Yes, this is even the case in organizations that exist to serve the needs of people with Down syndrome, or so it seems.
So this might be obvious to you, and you might say, well, you know, that's all you're talking about, isn't it? But it really isn't. We think that people with Down syndrome should be seen in leadership positions in all aspects of society. But the obvious easy start, or the most egregious realm, is organizations that are set up for people with Down syndrome that aren't led by people with Down syndrome.
Right.
And to put that into context, there's a history of, for instance, in the United States, there are these Black colleges, right, or universities for kind of designed for people who are African American. And in the early days, invariably, the presidents of those colleges were white men. And it took a long time before people said, it makes no sense. Why don't we have someone who represents us leading this project?
Yeah.
And similarly with women's colleges, if you go back far enough, the women's colleges were also run by men. And so we take it for granted that organizations that are set up around and for, call them minority groups, need to be run by those people. But we haven't gotten there yet in terms of Down syndrome, or so it seems. So we're not taking anything for granted, but from what we understand, that is a problem.
Yeah.
So what's the solution, Fionn?
A campaign to shift the leadership culture in organizations that serve the needs of people with Down syndrome toward majority leadership by those with lived experience.
So our goal for this would not simply to have one board member with Down syndrome, to have mostly board members with Down syndrome. So you know, they're actually, we are aware of a number of Down syndrome organizations that employ someone with Down syndrome.
Yes.
They're usually not in leadership positions, but they do get a paycheck. They don't get one of the bigger paychecks, but they, you know, they're employed by the company. But we're looking for something quite a bit more. So not making any assumptions that anyone listening or watching this has any direct connection with people with Down syndrome, but we think this is a pretty universal concern. We believe it should be anyway. And we want to point out that, well, we recognize that there's a lot of marginalized groups, people that are left out of leadership. And the reason why we're choosing to focus on Down syndrome is, first of all, our expertise, right?
Yes.
And this idea of thinking globally, but acting locally. Yeah. So we start from what we know, but we really do feel that this is a global issue, because this group is like a proxy for all the other marginalized people. And you know the word proxy, it can stand in for, or it can represent other groups who also are left out of the leadership equation.
Yeah.
And why do we feel it's a good proxy for other groups? Well, I can do these.
Okay.
We know, most of us who've given much thought to it, that there is a hierarchy of disability, and that there are like no one's, I don't believe anyone says that if you are a wheelchair user, you shouldn't be allowed to get married. Or if you are blind, you should just use two examples. If you are blind, you shouldn't be allowed to own a house. But here in Ireland, until very recently, both those things were said about people with intellectual disability.
Yes.
That they shouldn't be allowed to marry and that they shouldn't be allowed to own houses. So there is something of a hierarchy of disability, and it seems to us intellectual disability is the farthest marginalized. Another reason why Down syndrome is a good group to focus on is that it's a visible disability, and it's the best known form of intellectual disability to most people.
Yeah.
And lastly, Down syndrome is identifiable pre-birth, and it's routinely targeted for termination. And this isn't a subject that we much like to talk about, but I think it's important to say that it does go on, and it goes on in big numbers. And I don't know what the long-term implications, no one does know what the long-term implications will be, but it seems like the idea of selecting one group of people and saying they shouldn't be born is abhorrent to most people when you change the context. For instance, if you say, we'll selectively abort because of the gender of the child, most everyone would say that's abhorrent. You're not allowed. We won't even legally allow you to do that. But with Down syndrome, for some reason, people have mostly accepted it as a legitimate thing to do. And even there's pressure in some quarters that you must do that if you have this pre-birth diagnosis. And the way that science moves and the kind of technology that we have to determine more and more about people earlier and earlier, Down syndrome could be a canary in a coal mine. It might be just one of the first things that can be determined about the human to be, and it won't be the last. There'll be more and more details. And will people be selectively choosing traits of their offspring? You know, it's a dangerous situation, I think. And so if we kind of address it now, then that's a healthy thing. It'll stop some of the further problem.
Yeah.
So here we're coming up to this is the big picture. It's also one of the last slides before we turn it over to you. But we wanted to let you know that we've kind of looked at this project, and it's not a small project.
Right.
We want to include organizations all over the world.
Yes.
We realize that the first thing to do is to ask, do you have Down syndrome leadership? Do you have leadership by people with Down syndrome in your organization? And we hope to be pleasantly surprised.
Right.
We do know of some instances, and I think that's very exciting. And perhaps we're a little bit behind the times, and maybe we'll find actually there's lots of it going on and there's very little for us to do.
Yeah.
On the other hand, we expect that there's going to be less than we would prefer to see.
Right. Yeah.
And rather than just ending with research, we figure it's also a campaign to change things.
Yes.
But we have to first find out what's up.
Yeah.
And then go about trying to make it change. Not as sometimes I felt like, oh, we're going to get at those organizations, like feeling like this fiery sword in my hand, and then realizing, well, that's not the way that change works. You know, that's the way to bloody some noses and maybe make you feel a good rush of adrenaline. But ultimately, you need to partner with organizations, and these are people who have their hearts in the right place.
Yes.
We think so. It's really, I think, we believe, these organizations are going to want to partner with us to bring about a world where people with Down syndrome are leading those organizations.
Yes.
So I don't think I'll go through them there, but we have these multiple steps, and basically we need your help to make it to make this happen. It's not something that's going to be all wrapped up in 6 months. We'll probably be starting in 6 months, really, or kind of coming to step 2 or something. It's probably a 2 to 3 year project, and even that may be ambitious. I mean, our What Do You Love About Your Life project is now in its 7th year, so there's no reason, there's no rush on this. And I think if you look at number 7 there, when we're kind of halfway through the process, that's when we recruit more people in. So it's as much a campaign for change as it is a research project.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll move on to the nearly last slide. So we want to now have a discussion with you for the last third of this workshop, and you can tell us anything you want, or you can ask us whatever questions you have, but we thought we'd suggest a few leading questions for you to consider.
Yes. All the things you really like about what we've shared. Do you have suggestions to help clarify our thinking around this topic? Do you agree that this is important and timely? And do you want to help or help us find others to help?
There's just one other question we have. We feel like Down Syndrome Leadership Project probably is a working title. We'd love to come up with something that's more catchy than that. So can you help us with an idea for a catchy title? We did throw a few out there for you to consider. You can tell us if you like any of those, or if you can improve on any of those, or something else entirely. So I want to just say, what are the titles, the alternate titles that we've thought about?
Yeah. Who's the boss? Down in front. Take the lead. Perspective shift. Wake up.
Yeah, so those are some ideas to explore. So thank you very much. It's been a great pleasure. You did a great job.
Yes, so did you, man.
Thank you. Now, if you'd like to connect with us, there are our email address and our webpage, but also in yellow there, we just started that Facebook page today.
Yes.
So we're just trying to collect interest. So if you have, after this conversation, if you have any interest at all, please do go to the Down Syndrome Leadership Project. Name will likely be changed at some point, and just like the page so we can continue the conversation.
Yes.
So thank you very much. We pass things over to you now.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Fionn and Jonathan. So now there's an opportunity to ask questions or comment. Poppy, please.
Hi, I've got Down syndrome, and I think talking about Down syndrome, it's good for people who need a little bit of help.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, I don't know what Steve thinks, but I think nature is important for Down syndrome. It's good for the country as well. I love your presentation. It's really good. I need to know what Steve thinks.
Thank you, Poppy.
Yeah, thank you, Poppy.
But before Steve answers, can I just ask you if you've had any experiences where you are the leader of a group? Can you think of any times when you were the one calling the shots?
Steve, can you help me, please?
Think about recently, Poppy, and the work we've done together on Zoom and the workshops that you've led on Zoom.
Oh yeah, we did beat making on BandLab with Steve. Citizens TV planning meeting thing.
Yeah, they're the general ones. But what about? I mean, Poppy's a musician, a songwriter as well.
Wow.
And during lockdown, we've been doing lots of music workshops, and Poppy's led a few lyric writing workshops as part of that.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Wow, yes.
And also,
Well,
I'm an artist, so I've got my own website.
well, that's really cool. Oh, what instruments do you play, Poppy?
Okay, I sing. I write my own lyrics, which is going to be on my album soon.
Mm.
Yes, it's on
Yeah.
BandLab. That's good.
Wonderful.
I like singing. I've been watching The Voice, and that's really good.
Okay.
Fionn had a call a couple of years ago by a production company that was making a show that was called Ireland's Got Talent. And I think Ireland was one of the last countries to have a TV show called Our Country Names Got Talent. And so this was only a couple of years back, and they were pitching the idea to the national broadcaster. And they invited, I don't know how they heard about you, but they invited Fionn to come into Dublin to a studio and play your violin and answer some questions. And what was the one thing they wanted? They told you, you need to say this. Do you remember what it was?
Oh, yeah, they wanted me to look really enthusiastic, because the host of Ireland's Got Talent is Louis Walsh. So they wanted me to get really excited and they put my heart into it and get really excited for Louis Walsh.
And they asked you to answer the question, what would you do if you won? And we hadn't prepped or anything. And so Fionn thought about it and he said, I'd take my parents out to dinner. And I don't know if that was quite exciting enough. but good fun.
Yeah.
There's a question here on chat from Suki. Thank you. This was so insightful. Fionn, have you tried activities like skateboarding, snowboarding, and so forth?
I've tried sledding.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, there isn't much snow here, but you have been skiing and sledding. And what do you like to do on the water?
On the water, well, I love swimming.
Yeah. And also
kayaking.
Yeah, we've done
I enjoy that.
Kayaking.
Yeah. Yeah, well, in the States, when it's Christmas time, there's snow on the ground, and then at home in Michigan, I love to go sledding.
Yeah, I think inclusive sport is one of the areas where people are really interested in hearing about the experiences of people who have disability, right? And you were a year ago, one of our last trip before the lockdown was to Canada, and we were to Alberta to talk at what kind of an organization?
The Steadwood Center.
Yeah, it's like a sports center. It's like a Paralympics training center.
Inclusive sport and recreation.
Yeah. Sorry?
Fionn, I don't know how you say it. Did you see my chats?
No, we haven't been able to look at them.
Oh, okay.
Let me see here. I'm going to try to find it now that we have it up. Well, you could just tell us, Leila.
Your presentation was very good. I was just a bit how can I put it? A bit lost, because I just found it a bit difficult to understand it, because I I do have learning disabilities, but I don't necessarily have the Down syndrome. And I just found it was a really good presentation. I just found it a bit difficult to understand it. That's all.
Okay, I'm sorry that that was the case, and thank you for letting us know.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay.
Do you have any specific questions? Was there any point where you said, I really wonder what this was about?
I do struggle with trying to find work because I do have a learning disability, but work placements, I do find it quite hard to actually I do ask if they have jobs, but they don't have the staff just find it quite hard to work with people.
Yeah. It's hard to find a job that's the right fit, isn't it? One of the things that we've explored is, rather than looking for a job that fits well, to make the job from scratch. And we, I think, I mean, we're quite lucky living in Ireland, where there's a wage subsidy scheme that the government has, that basically, when an employer hires someone with disability, the government pays half the wages. And we were able to think that through and say, well, we have a company. We established a company, so couldn't we hire Fionn and use that money? And they said, no one's ever done that. And we said, yeah, but is there a reason why we can't? Show us the rules where it says you can't do that. And they said, no, actually, you could do that. And then we said, well, what kind of job can Fionn do for us? And they said, well, of course, you're the employers, you get to decide. So we decided what Fionn's work would be. So a lot of these wonderful things that we shared with you about playing music, making films, traveling the world, we don't have to, that's all paid work for Fionn. Like he's on the clock as he is at the moment, right? So so that's what we've done. Instead of look for a job for you, is we made a job, because we'd never find the perfect job, but we could create the perfect job.
Oh yes, yeah.
So that's what we've done. And I hope, Leila, you find some work that you really love, or you make your own job.
Okay, I'll try.
There's a question from Peter. Peter, please. You're muted. Please unmute yourself.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
We was talking about jobs in BMX. We do like a job in different areas in BMX with people learning difficulties. Me and everyone who's got jobs in Skillnet BMX, who's got paid jobs or getting like into paid work that way. From Steve will tell you about this. He will tell you what we do, what people get paid for that role into society.
Thank you, Peter.
Yeah.
And we make sure it agree with like if a job comes up, we like we look at the description of the job, what is the format for the job, and they will tell us how much wage we get to that job.
Yeah, I think that things are shifting, aren't they? We're coming to a place where the old system of employers hiring people to do work and people, you know, just doing that bit of work for the amount of money that the employer is willing to pay, all of that, it feels like that's not really serving us anymore, that there's going to be more and more people who are not finding the right kind of work. And so I think our approach ties in with the conversation that was here a couple of weeks back with UBI, or Universal Basic Income, as another two ways of looking at work and money and fulfilling your needs and being able to give back to society what you feel are your real gifts, looking at all that in new ways. So I think it's very exciting when like cooperatives, groups of people come together and say, what do we have to offer? And how are we going to get recognized for it? And pay is often the recognition. Okay, you call out her name.
Nigel, do you want to say something?
Yes, thank you so much, guys. I really love this. First of all, I want to say what I love the most is the partnership that you guys have going on. I mean, I love the information, but to me, without that level of partnership and that level of buy-in and connection, nothing Fionn is doing would actually really work, because it's really important to have someone that believes in you, someone who's there walking you and sort of like guiding you. Because even, you know, as we're growing up, we always need that mentor. So it's not just a partner, but also a mentor that is heavily invested in his well-being and then ultimately heavily invested in the well-being of other people. So that is what struck me. And it is also the same thing that raises the questions for me, because what I do know is different cultures sees people with different abilities very, very differently. And a lot of it goes as far back as they can say biblical, you know, and as a pastor, that also comes into play. So someone could be able and have greater intelligence and capacity and ability to be a leader, but because the mindset is still needs to change, that those opportunities never come their way. And so I think about that.
Well said. Yeah. In a sense, what we're inviting people to do is pretty radical, because the whole idea of meritocracy, that the leaders should be the smartest ones, we're challenging that notion. And we're saying the leaders should be the ones who are most empathetic. As an example, like if you weigh, what are the most important qualities of a leader? Intelligence or empathy? I think we know what happens if you say intelligence is the most important, right? We have a world where we've put the importance on the intelligence, and it's not working for many of us, you know. So if we turn that and say, okay, what we really need in our leaders is empathy. And of course, our leaders need to be able to read a report or whatever, but that's the support, like what you're seeing that Fionn and I have. Like that's my job, is to help you with some of the thinking stuff, you know, like we'll read stuff together and we'll read it 3 times till so you have a good understanding of it for yourself. So this idea of people with Down syndrome being the leaders of organizations, we don't think that would ever happen with just people with Down syndrome in the room. That would be, again, sort of pretending. Like we would have to be with really good support. I'll just say that you made an application last month, and what are you waiting to hear back about? What are you hoping to get awarded? It's in England. right,
Okay.
in London.
Oh yeah. So I put in an application to become an Icelandic fellow for the Atlantic Fellowship. That Atlantic Fellowship through the London School of Economics.
Yes, and in the application, Fionn and I explained that he has a disability and that he would need support, but the kind of support he needs is tailored to his own needs. So it's not the support that someone in with a sensory disability or a physical disability would need. It's the kind of support that someone with a cognitive impairment will need. And so we said it might look unusual to you for Fionn to have an assistant who's, you know, talking with him in the middle of the class if he were accepted in to classes at the London School of Economics. But, you know, we said that's what inclusion looks like. And wouldn't it be wonderful? Wouldn't it be a great opportunity for you to see what happens when you accept someone like Fionn into a program in a way that really supports you to do well in it?
Yes.
So fingers crossed. We'll see what happens. It probably won't. We'll probably lose, but that doesn't scare us. We're open to failure.
Yes. So Michael, you want to say something there?
Yes, Michael and Cesare have small comments that the time is now quite full. So let's have our last comments before we end the Action Monday today. But before that, I would like to thank Mark for hosting today. So Mark, you can choose the next week's host.
So can I go?
Just a moment, Cesare. Mark, who will be the next week's host?
Who should I go for? Who should I go for? Thinking Keith.
Hey.
Is that okay, Keith? So thank you, Mark, so much. And Keith, next Monday you will be hosting. Cesare, the floor is yours.
So I just wanted to very quickly provide a little bit of perspective on what I've been learning about leadership the past few years, organizing Citizen Assembly and the International Logic Party. And I want to draw the distinction between what you could call leadership versus command. Because you can have a command structure and you can have a leadership structure, but they work differently. A command structure is somebody who is usually appointed or put in some position of some power to direct others what to tell them what to do. And you can have a structure of different commanders that way. But you can also have but a leadership structure is not the same thing. A leader takes charge and does things even whether they have command or not. They still go ahead and do it. They step up, whether they see a job needs to get done and they do it. They see someone else doing a good job, they go and help them. And that's what they get recognized for as leaders. And that's where the leadership structure comes from, is because essentially leaders are servants. They are there to inspire and bring together other people who are doing the job. So a leadership, it's more natural. So, and I think it's even more admirable. It's easy to be a commander because somebody gives you that power, but a leader creates their own power. So there's a lot more I could say about that, but and also I just wanted to comment with Fionn being right. You were accepted, or you're waiting for the acceptance. In any case, I'd like to invite you to join us in Citizen Assembly. We regularly discuss economic topics, and we discuss the UBI. That's a very very common topic that we discuss. So I hope we have you there. We need leaders. We say that at every meeting. We need people who will take charge, organize more meetings, do more presentations on different ideas. So please step up.
Thank you, Cesare.
Thank you, Cesare, so much. Michael, you had a comment.
Yeah, give a quick comment. Thanks, Fionnathan. Brilliant to see you again. The last time I saw you, it was in the Glasgow when we could all get out. But yeah, it was a brilliant presentation, and keep up the brilliant work that you're doing. Just a couple of kind of like comments, if I may, about we've got a TV soap over here in UK called Emmerdale, and they had a storyline earlier this year, I think it was, about this family was expecting a child that had Down syndrome, but the storyline was to abort the baby. And I guess for what's your comments on that? But because 2 years ago that they had an actor in Emmerdale with cerebral palsy, and he got accepted on the programme, and also he became he won an award at the National TV Awards. But I just wanted to ask you, Fionnathan, about your views on that and all that, how they highlighting a negative story.
Do you want to say anything about that? I could say something brief.
Yeah. So
okay.
Well,
just to say, I mean, we need all kinds of stories, and that is something that happens. So there's no reason why that story shouldn't be told in a fictional way. But if that's like the only story about Down syndrome that happens for the whole week on television or something, or month or whatever, that's really damaging. I think that we need actors and stories about the amazing things that people like you, Poppy, are doing in the world. And doctors who work with families, babies being born in families, they have a really negative, unnaturally negative view of what it's like to have an infant with Down syndrome, because the healthy ones, they just go home. It's the ones who are ill who stay in hospital for weeks. And so when the doctor's experience is unusually, they just know about the hard cases. So the medical establishment has a skewed perspective on what it's like to live with Down syndrome. And we need more representation from people who are just living an exciting and interesting life. And so, that would be my take. It's not wrong for them to do that, but it is out of context without showing the whole picture.
Thank you so much, Fionn and Jonathan, for joining us this Action Monday.
Thank you all.
Very inspiring.
And please consider coming to the Facebook page and just say hello there, and we'll continue the conversation.
Thank you so much, and welcome everybody next week, same time, same place, with Scott MacArthur, the power of storytelling. How can we change the world through stories? Any last words, Michael from Los Angeles? What would you like to say?
Can I say something?
Thank you, everybody, and yes, thank you so much. Thanks to everybody, and thanks, Mark. Thanks, Fionn. Thanks, everybody.
Wonderful presentation. Thank you. Really.
Yes, amazing.
Thank you so much, and have a great week.